Tim Denbo, I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to chat with you. I see you on a weekly basis in the marketing meetings, and you're a man about town as well. So I run into you occasionally at other industry events, and so wanted to take a couple minutes and chat with you today about what you see is going on in the real estate market, how your services and your products are addressing some of the change that you see, or not, as the case may be, how those products and programs that you offer are helping realtors sell more real estate. But before I do that, I want to get to know you a little bit. And I say that like, I don't know you because we've had a couple of conversations, and you've always been good to share personal stuff with me. And I've learned a bit about your background. You were a scuba diver at some point in your life, and recently married to the lovely Hanali.
That's right. And let me just say thank you, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you here, and I really appreciate you. So thank you.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think the world of you, and I think you're a trained professional, and that means a lot, because this business is hard, and when you find somebody who works as hard as you do, you want to kind of circle with them. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's an honor.
So how the hell did you end up in this business?
Well, that's a question that'll take longer than this podcast, but I'll try to make it succinct. So I ended up in this business by a combination of, what? It's our lives take us in directions, and everything we do leads to something else. And it's amazing what the universe does. So really, I started getting into this when I was given the opportunity by a previous employer to find another passion of mine.
I love how you put that.
So a couple of weeks before Christmas, they gave me a Christmas present and said, hey, you need to find a different passion. So after some time, I actually got into real estate, and I had been a senior business systems analyst. I had been a national sales and marketing director. And so I had a lot of background in technology, in marketing and sales. And I decided to get into real estate. I've been a licensed real estate agent actually up until this last year. I just haven't practiced real estate in over 12 years. And that is really what led me to starting taking pictures for other agents in the office as I'm learning the business. They're asking me, because they knew I had a passion for photography, so they asked me to take pictures for them. And that led me to one night having a light bulb go off and say, you know what, with my technical background, with my understanding of real estate, with my understanding of marketing, I'm looking at these virtual tours that these companies are developing, and they're so difficult to use. I put together a team of programmers, and we built VirtualTourCafe in about 6 months with 3,000 hours of programming to design and develop a do-it-yourself virtual tour service. We never intended it to be a photography business. We actually intended it to be a do-it-yourself virtual tour business that any agents anywhere in the country could use, and they still can, and they still do.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So you started out with one thing, and you wound up somewhere else, but you still have the virtual tour business.
Yes, and we're actually just about to release our third version, our third update, major update. Over 8,000 hours of programming has gone into rewriting the whole code from the ground up so that we could have the most modern code, the most modern tools available. And so we're actually getting ready to release that here in the next 30 days or so. We'll be releasing the newest release. Now, it not only benefits if there's agents that just want to use their own photos and upload them to VirtualTourCafe and create a virtual tour and a flyer and a video, they can do that. But it's also for our photography clients, so that when we create a virtual tour after taking the photos for them, or doing a 3D, or doing an aerial or video, we can put it into our own software and have the most modern virtual tour websites available for our clients. So yeah, it's interesting how everything works out.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and I know, as I said, I know you because of your photography business, but I don't necessarily, and probably even until this afternoon, didn't really understand that the virtual tour part of your business was there. And so correct me if I'm wrong. It's a do-it-yourself system where you can log in and load your photographs in and then create a tour of sorts of your property that then you can link to your website.
Yeah, and think of it this way. People know the term, some people know the term virtual tours, of course. Other people think of a property website. So think of it as what our software does is you upload your photos, you arrange them any way you want to, you choose the background music that you want, or just go with the default background music. Our software turns that into a high quality property website. Matter of fact, some of our competitors in the photography business, they will charge you an extra couple $100 to take their photos and put them into a property website that is part of our business. So we're the developer, we're the software developer of the property website that is, quote, a virtual tour. So yeah, it's really fascinating how things happen, because it was in the early days, after about 4 years in the business, just as a virtual tour business, my board of advisors said to me, Tim, why are you spending your time doing photography for clients instead of putting your energy into building Virtual Tour Cafe? I was working in the business more than on the business. And that's actually what led me to
stop there.
Yeah.
Let's stop there for a second. So I think that's a really important point. And it's you've come to that conclusion. So say more about working on rather than in your business.
That's great. And a lot of people don't understand that. There's a difference between, if I'm working in the business, then I'm doing the tasks that I could hire somebody for $20, $30 an hour for. So if I'm doing things, whether it's photography or whether it's marketing or whatever it is, if I could hire somebody to do that job, it doesn't require my skill level to do that job, then I should hire somebody to do that. And I should be working, because my title is President CEO of Virtual Tour Cafe and co-founder, and I should be working on the vision of the business and where we're taking Virtual Tour Cafe, and to the point of we're launching our new website, our new software. So
how hard has that been for you?
What's that?
How hard has that been for you to separate?
It's a difficult thing, because I think all people like myself anyway,
hands-on,
we have a hard time letting go sometimes, and it's I can do it all, and unfortunately sometimes there's the I can do it better than anybody else, kind of a mentality. And you got to let go of that. I've got to let go of that. And I've been fortunate enough to have really great mentors around me. I did say that we have a board of advisors. It's not a board of directors. These people have been with us since the very beginning, and they don't get paid a dime. They have no
How valuable is that? My God, how wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, and we have everybody from somebody that was the president CEO of a major paint company, being a chairman of a bank. We have people that are nationally known in the real estate business. And these are people that are just there to help us grow our business and see the vision. And that's really, when it's your business. So if a realtor, a loan officer, or anybody that it runs their own business, if they can hire somebody else to do the menial tasks or the tasks that can be done by somebody else, talking about realtors, which is, that's a lot of both of our clients, realtors many times will say, oh, well, I think I'll just take my own pictures, or I think I'll do my own, whatever it is.
Shot on iPhone, baby. right?
Yeah, our most successful clients are the ones that have a team around them, and we're part of that team. So they have us doing the photography and the virtual tour and the property website, and then they have somebody else that does other parts of it and the stagers, and they don't go in and move the furniture around. They've got a stager that does that. So yeah, it makes a big difference. It's the only way to grow a business is by having people that do the tasks that you should not be doing.
Got it. Now, look, you've mentioned you've got some new programs and products coming out, and I want to talk about those. But before we go there, I want to drill in on the basics of home photography, the types of equipment that you use. How do you decide on angles and lighting? How do you get to a place where you're creating something that's visually appealing, that's going to satisfy your clients? And I put clients in two categories there, right? So you've got your realtor clients, but then also the folks that are looking at the house for purchase.
That's great, Chris. And you really actually kind of hit on something, and that is, I'll get realtors that will say to me, "Oh, well, I don't want a 3D because it makes me dizzy," or I don't really like the way it looks. And immediately my mind is thinking, sorry,
you're not the buyer.
Who cares?
Yeah, you're not the buyer.
It's not about you. Really, even my client's the realtor. They're the ones that pay me. But the real ultimate client is the buyers and the sellers. They are the ones that we're all working for. So, and that's, so to your question about, what we use and how do we go about. First of all, we've been in business 12 years, and I look back at some of our first photos that I took or that our photographers took, 10 years ago. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people actually hired us. Quite frankly, we've evolved so much, learning ourselves of what angles to take, what equipment to use. But it's mostly about knowing the angles than it is the equipment. That's some people will say to me, well, the cell phones today, hey, they've got cameras on them that, take wide angle, they take high quality pictures, they're 24 megapixel, all this kind of stuff. And I think to myself, that's great, but I can put my $5,000 camera into a non-professional's hands and the photos will still come out not so great.
Yeah, not great.
Let me put it those ways, or in the words, somebody else may use, they'll turn out. I won't use that word.
I love you're editing yourself. I think it's wonderful. We can say crappy. It's okay.
I can say crappy.
Sure, why
they'll
not?
Turn out crappy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It amazes me when you can open up the realtor.com or Zillow or whatever program you want.
There's a lot of entertainment value there, isn't there?
Look at just 2 or 3 pages of listings and you will be amazed at some of the photos people take. And you go to a car sale website, and you will not see photos like that, or not very often. People won't even sell their car with low quality photos, and yet some people will try to sell houses that way. So let's talk about that for a second. What are the more common mistakes that you see when an agent or a homeowner tries to take photos of their own property? So first of all, just like, as we talked about in the beginning, we are a do-it-yourself service as well as a professional photography service. So I've written 3 books on real estate photography. So I'm happy to teach people to take better pictures themselves. It doesn't hurt our business.
Yeah, that's great.
Our clients are...
Givers get. My mentality is like, if you show people how to do it, you've helped another human being. Like, that's just as good as actually doing it for them, getting paid for it. You're giving back to this. You're giving back to the community.
Absolutely. So the first tip I will say is take wide angle photos, or the mistakes that they're making. I think that was more the question you asked. The mistakes that they're making is, I'm amazed at the photos I see that are of a couch, or they're of a dining table. Okay, are you selling the dining table? Are you selling the couch? People are buying the real estate, the space. So yeah, there's a time and place to do a quote beauty shot, but mostly you want to show the entire room. So, what I teach my photographers is the four corners. You want to start outside the door of a room, and you want to get that wide angle of the entire room, and you want to include you want to include 3 walls. 2 walls is too narrow. You want 3 walls. 4 walls, and you've got a fisheye look to it. So you want 3 walls included in the photo. You want to be low enough because people buy floors, they don't buy ceilings. Now, yes, they buy ceilings in a way when they're vaulted ceilings. And if you've got a vaulted ceiling, you want to get a little higher up and show that size to the room with the vaulted ceiling. But otherwise, you want to be a little bit lower. You want to show a little more of the floor than you do the ceiling, and you want to show as wide a view as you can. And then keep it straight. You want to have a straight left edge, a straight right edge. You want that photo to be straight. The mistake they make is pointing it down, pointing it up, taking pictures of couches, having themselves in a mirror. Most people, can't edit themselves out of a mirror.
Yeah, my favorite is we have an agent I know that we know in the business, and she was thanking you for making sure that the toilet seat was down in one of the pictures that you took, because she had seen another photograph of another listing where the toilet seat was, where the lid was up.
I'm amazed at how many photos I see. You can even watch, the TV channels that are about real estate, and you'll see the videographers in those sometimes going through the house, and the toilet seats are up. I just don't understand it. I'm sorry. It's just bad karma. I don't leave toilet seats up in my own house.
We have a rule in our house too. It just doesn't happen.
You close the toilet. It's almost like, I don't know, but it's like negative energy is coming, from that. I won't go any further into that, but
I agree,
it's just like I generally, in our own house, we walk in, we take our shoes off. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
The same thing. Yeah. You put the toilet seat down, and I'm not talking, some people I think get confused with the seat like a I saw a great poster about in a restroom that said sprinkles are for cupcakes. Not here, something like that. But yeah, so there's the toilet seat and there's the toilet lid. We're talking the toilet lid. The toilet lid needs to be down, not just the seat. Yeah. The toilet seat and the lid needs to be closed. And then don't have yourself in a mirror. Those are common things that I see all the time.
What about we're going to talk a little bit about staging, because you do virtual staging. And the value of staging, but when you have folks that don't want to pay for staging for whatever reason, can't be convinced of its value, and there's clutter. How do you manage around? How do you work around clutter, if you will? Because I've seen plenty of Realtor.com or let's just say real estate website images where you're thinking to yourself, wow, why that picture?
Yeah. Well, the good news is most of our clients are high quality clients, and they won't do that most of the time. I won't say never. We have certainly had those situations. We've had houses where, quite frankly, over the 12 years we've been in business, there's been a couple of times where we've even said, I'm sorry, our photographer has said they don't feel safe in that house.
Oh, wow.
The smell, the environment, it just does not feel safe. There can be bugs, there can be things that and the realtor, the so to speak excuse, but the reason behind it was they wanted before pictures, and then they were going to basically rip it out, kind of a crappy home turning it into a nice home. So they wanted those before pictures, and I'm kind of like, well, okay, maybe the before pictures you need to take yourself because we don't feel safe in there. But to answer your question, really, we do find those once in a while where it just is a cluttered home. It's not unsafe, it's just cluttered. I'll tell you 2 answers to that, really. Number one, we will take photos of the house as it is presented to us. So it does need to be, quote, camera ready. If it's cluttered, then, we'll sometimes call the agent and say, hey, are you aware that this is this way? And if so, then we'll go ahead and take the pictures. And we can also do object removal. We can declutter a house virtually.
There we go. That's what I was hoping you were going to get there, because I seem to recall us talking about that.
Yeah, even if they don't want to virtually stage it, which we can do also, we can remove the things and stage it. Or we've had a situation where they say, you know what, Tim, we need to get the photos done. They're not quite done with the house. The kitchen is still kind of a mess, but just let's get out there and get the pictures done. And so we take the pictures, and then we can declutter that kitchen with all the things that are still on the counters and mops on the floor and, whatever. So yeah, we can declutter and make some. We've even taken some rooms where it's amazing how much junk is in there, and we've just cleaned it all out virtually and made it look empty. Now, the good news is, when the clients get there, when the buyers get there, it probably is going to be empty when it's in that kind of a situation where they just need to get the pictures done, even though they're not done cleaning everything out of there. They're still going to get it cleaned out, but they just haven't finished it. So yeah, we can do that. Or sometimes there's a pod, in the front of the house.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about, so there are occasions where you definitely need to clean up a photograph. Like, for example, a couple of years ago, we had really bad fires here in California. And the skies at one point were brown, if not orange. In those situations, do you have the ability to touch it up so that it looks natural, but doesn't have that, that tinge that you saw in the sky during those fire times?
Yeah, so skies are no problem. We during that time with the fires, we replaced the skies with blue skies. So we like to say, when you have a virtual tour cafe, do your photography, it's always a blue sky day. We're gonna unless it's just a really nice cloudy day, and it looks really great, we're generally going to replace the skies with nice blue sunny sky days. So whether it's orange from a fire, or whether it's just we shoot, on a rainy day, even, if we didn't shoot on rainy days, we wouldn't be able to, survive.
So your wife is from Northern Europe. We have family in Ireland, and the line is like, if you wait for a day for it to not be raining, you're not going outside.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, we've been in a drought for the last several years, so we haven't had to worry about it as much. But still, there are cloudy days, there are rainy days, and we do replace the skies. So yeah, that's never a problem. Now, just to be clear, when you talk about fire and when you talk about decluttering and things like that, I just want to make this point that if you're going to put the pictures on the MLS, there's no problem with replacing skies, because that's what it would naturally look like on a sunny day. That's no problem. There's no problem with removing pots and pans and clutter from a room, a kitchen, a living room, whatever, old furniture, virtual staging, all of that is fine. What you don't want to do is patch a hole in a wall. You don't want to change the color of the paint. You don't want to change the flooring. You don't want to replace an old carpet, an old carpeting with a new hardwood floor.
Needs to be representative
of that offline.
Yeah, needs to be.
You can do it offline. I'm sorry.
It needs to be representative of what's for sale.
Yeah, exactly. Or what can be removed that's not permanent part of the house. And that's where it kind of comes down to on the MLS. If it's a permanent part of the house, just like you can't remove a telephone pole behind a house in the photo, that's not allowed. That telephone pole is permanent. It's there. You can't remove it. You can shoot an angle that maybe doesn't show it, and that's fine, but you can't remove it digitally. Same thing. You can't replace the floor, yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. So, you're in a service business, just like I am. And, you have a very similar philosophy. Client, comes first. Their needs and their wants come first. You've just talked about some of the things that you can't do and how to balance those things with, a demanding agent or demanding seller? How what's the process there? I mean, when they say, hey, can you Photoshop that out, or can you remove this from that?
Yeah. So just like you mentioned, we're a service business. So it's not up to us to be the licensed agent and to tell them what to do. If they want a telephone pole removed, we will remove it. We will tell them, by the way, we are, familiar with the MLS rules. Most MLSs don't allow you to do that if you're putting the picture on the MLS. And they can do anything they want, almost, as long as they're not worried about being sued. They can do anything they want offline. In other words, we have clients that will have us put a pool in the backyard, an infinity pool with a beautiful backyard, when the backyard is actually just a vacant piece of land. That's fine if they just want to put it on a poster board and put it at the house to show potential buyers what it could look like.
Imagining what
you just can't. Yeah, you just can't put it on the MLS. So to answer your question, we let them know that they might want to check to be sure whether that's allowed. But ultimately, it's up to them what they do. And if they want us, we will do what they want us to do. We're not there to police it. That's their job.
Yeah, how can you, right? I mean, the minute you start telling one thing, then you've got to tell everything. And then where do you draw the line?
Well, and just here, here in the Bay Area, there's about a dozen different MLSs and associations. And, we deal with associations and MLSs all around the country, and there's over 1,000. We can't know all their rules. No. So it's up to the agent. They're licensed agents, and it's up to them to know their business. We may tell them if we believe, that, hey, by the way, we believe that you're not allowed to do this on the MLS. However, you can do whatever you want off, but it's up to them what they do with it.
Got it. So we talked a little bit about, challenging photographic situations or challenging properties to photograph. A couple of things I'm wondering. Oftentimes, I should say, don't see too often where you see a twilight lit home, number one. And then number two, how do you handle difficult lighting situations where maybe the room is a bit dark, or it's a cloudy day, or the subbing material? You've got a beautiful, I love it, perfect timing. It's like almost like you knew it was coming. So I'll break it up into a couple of questions. When do you feel like it's most appropriate to do a twilight photo, and how do you handle tough lighting situations?
Okay, the first part of the question is fairly easy. If the house has good lighting, interior and preferably exterior, so landscape lighting, almost any house can benefit from a twilight. And the reason I say that is twilights just have an emotional calming effect. And so twilights like the one behind me there, that's just the front of a house and a bush that's lit, and the lighting is mostly just the interior of the home and some garage lighting and things like that. There's not a lot of lighting in this picture behind me, but it still has that calming effect. It makes you feel like
welcoming.
What's that?
Sure seems welcoming.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So most homes are appropriate for twilight. If the home has a pool, any sort of water feature, especially water feature that has lighting, or if the home is in a position where it has a view of the city or something else behind it that can be shown in a twilight, those are all awesome. So there's a difference between a house that benefits from a twilight. Almost any house can do that. And by the way, we also offer virtual twilights. So even if they don't want to spend the money for a real twilight, we can do a virtual twilight.
I love it.
Virtual twilight's never as good as the real thing. The real thing behind me, that it's definitely, the quality is much better on the real thing. But a virtual twilight still, for the a few dollars, it's worth having just a virtual twilight, if nothing else.
Yeah, you've talked, you've kind of signposted a really important thing in photography. What's the goal here? We're trying to sell a house, and we're in selling a house. What you're ultimately doing is selling a dream. I mean, a house for sale becomes someone's home. once the sale has been completed. And so, creating emotion, creating an environment that's, that says to the buyer, hey, that's beautiful. I'd love to live there. That's part of what you do.
Whether it's a bicycle or a doll or a car or a house, people buy emotionally. Yeah. My mother bought our house when I was 12 years old. I remember that she chose the house that they were between a couple. Obviously, it has to meet their needs. Yep. But then when they were down to which of these couple of houses, she wanted this one house that we moved into because of the trees in the front yard. That made her just feel good. She loved these big trees in the front of the house. People buy emotionally. And so when you can create an emotional effect, like a twilight or like a aerial that's an appropriate aerial or an aerial twilight or a backyard. And so that's where having a photographer's eye, there's such a difference between just anybody taking pictures and a skilled professional photographer that understands real estate photography, taking the pictures that are appropriate and yet also create emotion. So it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is the difference between someone who has the tool and a trained professional behind the use of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Not everybody's an Ansel Adams.
No, definitely not. And so, we've talked a lot about sort of the basic blocking and tackling of home photography for the purpose of selling a piece of real estate. The tools you use, I don't know how deep we want to go there. What's some of the what are some, like the thing that when I say advances, what are some of the advances that have kind of changed the game? The one that stands out for me is Matterport.
Yeah. I mean, that quite frankly, Chris, that was a game changer in our business as well.
Yeah.
So that was Matterport introduced their camera back in 2014, late the fall of 2014.
And for those of us who don't know, I mean, I know it to some extent, but for those of us who don't know what Matterport is, can you just kind of step us through sort of a layman's description of what Matterport is?
Certainly. So first of all, Matterport is the name of a company. So Matterport, just like Xerox, when people call a copy a Xerox, or at least they have over the years. And that's because Xerox was the first company that really mass produced, the copiers. And so people just got that term. People today will sometimes think of Matterport just as calling something a 3D. Well, actually, there are different companies that make 3D tools and 3D technology. Matterport is just the first that really came out with a camera and software combination, and they're based right here in the Bay Area. They're based in the Palo Alto area, in the Silicon Valley area. So we had been following when they started announcing the camera and the software solution that they were about to release. We got on their waiting list. And so what it is Matterport is a camera that takes a series of panoramic photos at multiple angles. So if you look at the camera itself, it's about breadbox size. And the Matterport camera, breadbox size, it has 3 rows of lenses. So there's 3 cameras facing straight, 3 facing up, 3 facing down, and 2 infrared lasers that measure the room at the same time that it's taking pictures.
Wow. And
so what they came up with was a technology that you could go through a house and you can put this camera in different positions about every 5, 6, 7 feet. So it takes a lot of scans, they call it scanning. It takes a lot of scans to create the model that creates a 3-dimensional view of a house, where if you look at it on a computer screen, it looks like a house with no roof and no walls.
Can we dig in? Can you show us a picture of it?
Yeah. Can I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me just click on here. And So I'm just going to just jump down here. This is a presentation I do, and I'm just going to jump down to the 3D section here. So here's a picture. You see this okay, Chris?
Yeah, it's a little laggy, so give it a second to get caught. Okay. I see 1 through 5.
1 through, okay, it's catching up. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe what would be better, you know what?
Uh-oh.
Let me-
Did I lose you? Nope, you're there.
I think I lost you for a second. You're still there? I'm still here?
You are.
Okay, and I think the share screen's gone though, right?
It is gone, yep.
Okay, so it was having some trouble with that. So rather, let me just do this. I'll just choose a different background.
I love it. That's perfect. That's
so
perfect.
What you see behind me there, that house is a Matterport 3D. So it's kind of like looking at the house from above it. You can, if you can think about using your mouse. So to the people that aren't looking at this, and so just describing it,
Yep.
It looks like a dollhouse that's floating in a black sky that
Yep.
you can zoom inside, meaning that you can click your mouse and go inside the house and walk through it anywhere you want as if you're there.
And for the benefit of those not seeing but listening, the image that he has behind him is multiple stories, and it's in a perspective view, and it allows you to see all floors of the building from one particular angle. But to your point, you can zoom in on a particular area of the home and then see it as if you're standing in the room.
And you can twist this model in any direction you want, even before you go inside it. So yes, we're looking at it from one perspective, but imagine it's like a floating model in space. Yeah. And you can turn that model any direction you want. So you can see the quote floor plan of the house, the layout of the house from a bird's eye view in any direction. Then you can go inside it. Now you can take it to another level, and you can put on 3D glasses.
Oh my, wow.
And you can actually be in the house, walking through it as if you're walking. So you can virtually, not actually, you can virtually be inside the house, and you can walk through the house virtually as if you're there, turning in any direction you want, going in any direction you want. And it feels like you're in the house. And that's what Matterport did. That's what Matterport came out with. Yeah. And now they're on their 3rd version of the camera, and they've probably had more than that versions of, you know, their software, but we were one of the first. And it was, you know, to your point, as far as technology that has made a big impact, that revolutionized our business, quite frankly. I mean, it's where we came up with our term that or our
I love it. And I love the fact that you've got every room that I've ever stood in with you while you're giving your pitch. Everyone in the room knows it. So go for it.
Life is short. Do it in 3D.
Do it in 3D. I love it so much. I'm still developing my own tagline there, Tim. At some point, hopefully I'll have that same brand awareness that you've developed, but I know that it's taken you a long time too.
Well, and it's, you know, it's quite frankly, it's kind of a combination of, you know, we don't have time to get into my background, but I have a background, let's just say that revolves around one day at a time. And, you know, with that, it's, you know, I have this mentality that, you know, life is short. You need to just grab it and live life to its fullest. And so there's kind of a play on that. Life is short, do it in 3D, because obviously it's do it in 3D, like the Matterport 3D. We also do iGuide 3D. So we do different technologies with 3D. So that's another technology that's come out, the iGuide, but it also goes to that, my background and the feeling that life is short. You know, every day we're reminded of that when something happens, that we won't get into that today, but
tomorrow's not promised though, Tim, you're not wrong.
You know, it's, and that is, so it's a little play on that, you know, life is short, do it in 3D. And I mean, do everything to your fullest, to your best abilities, but it's also do it in 3D, you know, get your house on 3D so that people can see it in 3D. Now,
I know you have some new stuff that you're working on, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that. You just said that you were an early adopter of Matterport, that groundbreaking technology for 3D walkthrough video or photography rather. How do you stay up on the current trends? You're an author. You've written a couple books, or 3 books to be exact. What do you use for resources? How do you figure out what's coming next?
I just stay up with the real estate news. There's several. Risk Media is one of them. RIS Media, Risk Media. There's so many different services out there that you can keep up on the real estate news. So I get feeds, and so I look at those.
Do you spend much time at trade events? Like, I think you were out at a NAR event not too long ago. How often do you go to those types of trade shows?
I try to be involved as often as possible. So we go to many of them. I go from a vendor perspective, as well as going to keep up on the technology and the news and all of that. So yeah, I think it's important, especially for us as the provider to our clients, to know what's there. And I've seen so many different things that I wouldn't waste my time on. There's for instance, there are dozens of different camera software solutions for 3D. There's only two that we use. We use Matterport 3D, and we use the iGuide floor plan 3D. And those, I believe, are the two best, because we're not looking for the cheapest, or, hey, I can do it with my phone, or I can do it with my camera. You can even do a Matterport with your phone these days. They've come out with that ability, but it's not going to be the quality that is done with the professional. Let's just say, if you can do it on your cell phone and they still sell their cameras for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, and people like myself buy them, there's a reason for that. The quality is so much different, and you get the measurements and everything with the cameras, whereas you don't get that with the phone software. But we've tried to stay up on the news, and one of the newest things is vertical videos. That's been a new thing that's recently come out.
Say more about that.
Yeah, so 3D is awesome. We love 3D, but there are certainly times and places where 3D just doesn't work, or people don't want to afford it, whatever it is. So a vertical video is a video. If you think of Reels, the Facebook Reels, or you think of YouTube Shorts, those things benefit any social media, Instagram, etc. They prefer, and they lean towards and give more visibility to vertical videos or square videos. Square and vertical, if you think about your cell phone, your cell phone is designed to be vertical. It's not really, you can turn it sideways, but then you have a narrow view on that sideways versus the vertical. So vertical videos are basically just what they sound like. It's the camera being turned vertically. So you're taking it like a portrait instead of taking it horizontally or landscape. And there's skill there, though. Nobody wants to watch a video that is bouncing around, and the quality of the lighting and everything else isn't good. So we can create these vertical videos that are high quality and inexpensive. Let's just say in the couple $100 range instead of $500, $600, $700 range for a VIP video of the house. They're shorter because it's made for social media. So they're generally about 30 seconds to 1 minute max. And it's a vertical video of the house going through it to help you market your property on social media.
Yeah, and so a little bit more on that. So algorithmically, there's a big fancy word. The feed and the platforms that are out there, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, I would put in that same category. They algorithmically give priority to vertical videos, and specifically videos that are under 50 seconds, under 55 seconds or so, so that because that's what the user population, according to the algorithm, is most interested in looking at.
That's exactly right. And matter of fact, Chris, if you want to do a little test yourself, or anybody listening to this, if you want to do a test, upload a 2 or 3 minute video, of a horizontal video, a regular standard video, onto YouTube. Take that exact same video, and if you know how, create it into a vertical video of about 30 seconds or under a minute, and upload that to YouTube as a short. And it's amazing the difference in views you will get. I've done that. Our regular horizontal videos on YouTube, you know, they're going to get 100 views over, you know, a week or 2 or 3 or whatever. I put a short, vertical short video on YouTube, and it had over 300 views in a matter of an hour.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
It's amazing.
Some of the reels, and you've seen me posting a little more frequently to social media over the last few weeks. Some of my reel videos have gotten 500-600 views in a matter of an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Don't know why. I'm like, I would love to tell you that I'm sophisticated enough to tell you exactly why one does better than the other. You know, but the point here is that, you know, the type of video that you take, the format of the video, meaning the way that it displays on the platform, matters in terms of how much engagement you're going to get. And at the end of the day, that's what this is about, engagement.
And you know, once you've got that engagement, then it's about the quality. Because you don't want 500 people to see you with a really lousy video. Then 500 people are going to say, okay, that's not an agent I want to use.
I mean, that's you know, like you got to put your best foot forward, right? You got to make sure your hair is done, and you got to put a nicer shirt on, and make sure
there's pros and cons,
lighting, and that's
absolutely.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What's coming up? What's new and exciting in Virtual Tour Cafe's world? I know you got some programs and some projects you're working on. Tell us a little bit about what's coming next.
Well, what's coming next for us is a new website and new mobile app. The new mobile app, let's just let you wait and see what it is.
I love it.
But let me just say that the new mobile app we have for those that take their own photos, or for those that use our services to be able to have your buyers and clients see it on the mobile. We've got some great technology and we've invested a lot of time and money into our new mobile app that'll be coming out very soon here. Other things, we also just to get it out there, we also now do professional portrait photos, headshot photos. We have gotten so many requests over the years to do a headshot photo for clients that we now actually we just opened a photo studio in Livermore. It's by appointment only, but it gives us a studio, a place to take headshots and also to do videos. Now, what's coming up is we're also about to do our first green screen videos, where we can do a video for you where you can do an entire year's worth of marketing in one video session. So we will have you in our studio. We'll spend a half a day or a day with you at the most, and we will create a series of about 12 different videos that are 30 seconds to a minute that you can post throughout the year and have a year's worth of marketing, one video a month, that you can market to get yourself out there. So
awesome.
The green screen allows us to put the different backgrounds there. If you're not familiar with green screen, you are, I'm sure, Chris, but if others aren't familiar with that, a green screen allows us to basically change the background. Like you see behind me, the background I have, if this were a green screen, that could be changing all the time. So it allows us to do those videos for clients at a price point that is effective and helpful in giving them a whole year's worth of marketing.
I love it. I love it. So you're expanding your product portfolio to meet the needs of your client base, which is realtors and home sellers.
Absolutely.
Here's I know we're right at the top of the hour, and I want to be responsible to your time. What do you think is the greatest impact that high quality photography can have on the sale of a home?
For me, I think the greatest impact is on the agent, quite frankly, more than anything else. And I try to tell people, I try to teach people that it's not just about selling the house. If it's priced right and you've got good photos, the house is going to sell. But great photos are going to get you the next sale. It's going to get you the next seller. Everybody is on the internet, and sellers are watching you. You know, people talk about, Big Brother watching you. Well, guess what? your next seller is watching what you're doing today.
Social proof, man.
It's all about, yeah, it's a chess game. You know, you're got to position yourself. So
yep, absolutely. We have I've spent quite a bit of time over the last few weeks tightening up my social profiles and making sure that they're consistent across all of the various platforms that I play on, because to your point, your customers are already looking for you. If they can't, first of all, if they can't find you, that's a problem. If they can find you and they don't like what they see because you don't look professional, that's worse.
You know, there's a saying that I love. It says, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, your sellers will see that. If they see you with photos that just look like you took them with your cell phone, why would they hire you to sell their $1 million, even $200,000 or $300,000 house, which there are none in this area.
Their most valued asset, right?
Yes.
Their most valued asset.
Yep, that's right.
Well, Tim Denbo, Virtual Tour Cafe, sir, I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to learn from you today. You did teach me a couple of things, the value of photography, that you are a man about town in terms of technology and staying current with what's happening in the business of real estate photography. I am so grateful. I really am. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's been a real pleasure and an honor. I really appreciate you and everything you do. So really, you know, it's my pleasure and my privilege to have been here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Be well. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
You do the same, Chris.
Thanks.
Take care. Life is short. Do it in 3D.
Yes.